So welcome all the students. Today we'll study about liquid cooling systems which were used for the internal combustion engine cooling. Okay, so in previous lecture we already finished with the air cooling systems. Okay, in today's lecture we have to start with the liquid cooling systems. Okay, so there are basically five types of a liquid cooling system that are used for internal combustion engine. Okay, so we'll see it one by one. Okay, so first type of a system that we have to study is non-return outlet cooling system, which is also called as a direct cooling system. Now, in this system, what happens? A cooling jacket is provided in the surrounding to the engine cylinder. Okay, so basically, this type of a system is generally used where plenty of water is available. Okay, now water from the water tank is directly supplied to the this cooling jacket. Here we can see the cooling jacket. Okay, so there is arrangement for the water inlet and water outlet. Okay, so water will come from this side and leave from this side. Okay, as water will come from this side, it will take up its sensible heat from the inside, and its temperature will be decreases as it flows. There will be a rise in temperature of the water. Okay, and the higher temperature water will be supplied to the outlet. Okay, basically this type of a system is used here the stage in case of a stationary engines. Okay, now, in this particular system, the hot water will not again circulated back to the tank. Okay, so fresh water will then next will be supplied to the for the purpose to cool the engine. Okay, so in this case, the water will not be recirculated back to the tank. Okay, and then fresh water will be supplied in order to cool the engine and to maintain the engine body temperature at a certain level. The next type of cooling is the thermosiphon system. Just raise your hand. You understand up to this. You understand first system. Okay. First system is non-data type of system. Okay. That is also called the direct cooling system. Okay. Now next type of system is the thermosiphon system. So in thermosiphon, this thermo indicates heat and siphon indicates a pipe. Okay, so in case of a thermosiphon system, there is no necessity of any pump. Okay, so basically here we can see the arrangement of a thermosiphon system. So here will be the engine, and in surrounding to the engine there will be a cooling jacket. Okay, here we can see the cooling jacket. So cooling jacket, in cooling jacket there will be a water. Okay, so there will be a arrangement for the purpose to flow water to the radiator. Here we can see a radiator. This is a radiator. In radiator there are number of small tubes. Okay, and on this tube pins are provided in order to have a higher heat transfer rate. As you all know that as the surface area increases, the heat transfer rate also increases. So basically in this type of a system, what happens, there will be no necessity of any pump, and water which is used to cool the engine. Okay, it is first heated. As water is heated by the heat from the coming out from the engine, okay, its temperature will rises. As you all know that for any liquid, as its temperature rises, its density will decreases. Okay, so there is arrangement provided in this system in order to flow up a liquid by natural means. As you all know that as the density of any fluid decreases, it will start rises upwards. Okay, so this will be the two hoses. Okay, this pipe is called as a hose. Okay, so upper hose connection is provided to flow the water to the upper tank. Here we can see that to the radiator there are two tanks, that is upper tank and a lower tank. Okay, as water gets heated, water will that is heated water will flow to the upper tank, and this is happens because of the decrease in density of water as its temperature is increases. Okay, then this water will flow through the series of tubes. Okay, here we can see the number of tubes. Okay, this is a radiator. Okay, so in radiator there are number of tubes and pins are attached to that particular tubes. Okay, so in order to have a higher heat transfer rate. Okay, now this water that is coming out from the engine cooling jacket, that will be cool with the help of air. Okay, and air is blown with the help of a fan. Here we can see the fan. Okay, so air will be blown over these tubes. Okay, so that the heat transfer will take place, and that air will cool the water and it decreases its temperature, and it will be settled down over here. So the cooled water will be at the end will be at the lower tank. Now the arrangement must be there in case of a thermosiphon system. This radiator height should be above than the engine height. Okay, should be above than the engine height, so that this water will flow inside the engine cooling jacket. Okay, so this precaution must be carried out in case of a thermosiphon system. If the radiator height is below than that of the engine height, then what happens, this cold water will not flow inside the cooling jacket. So this is the necessity in case of a thermosiphon system. Have you understand up to this? So in this particular system, there is no necessity of any pump. The flow of water take place by only by a density difference. Means as you hit the water, its density increases, it rises up. As you cool the water, its density decreases. Okay, and by the general gravity effect, it will flow again back to the engine cooling jacket. Okay, so have you understand up to this? That is thermosiphon system. That is, this is the second type of a system, which is also called as a indirect cooling system. Okay, have you understand up to this? Just raise your hand. Have you understand up to this? Have you understand thermosiphon system? Okay. Okay. The next type of a system is a force circulation system. Okay, so whatever the drawback of a thermosiphon system is overcome in case of a force circulation system, as there is also no fan, no pump used in case of a thermosiphon system. So basically, in this system, a pump is used in order to force the, or in order to increase the velocity of a flow of a water to the engine jacket. Okay, cooling jacket. Here we can see the engine. Okay, so the engine's surrounding there will be a engine cooling jacket. Okay, so engine cooling jacket is provided like such. Okay, this is the inlet for the water inlet, and this is outlet from the water. Okay, now in this case, the construction is same as thermosiphon system, but the only difference is that here pump is used, and along with the pump there is thermostat used in order to maintain the temperature, or in order to cool the engine to appropriate temperature. Okay, now what is the function of thermostat? This thermostat is basically used to keep the temperature of the engine in a certain workable range. Okay, as you all know that the engine it is necessary for the any cooling system that it does not overcool the engine, or it does not overheat the engine. Okay, it should keep the temperature of the engine within a certain workable temperature range, so that the engine will properly work and will give the desired work output. Now here we can see a thermostat. Okay, so how thermostat will occur in this particular system? Okay, the working is same as thermosiphon type of a system. Okay, but in case of a thermosiphon system, the naturally flow will take place, but in this case a pump is used to flow the water to the cooling jacket, and which will cool the engine. Okay, and then the heated water will supply to the this thermostat. Through the thermostat, this will be supplied to the radiator. So the radiator, in the radiator there will be upper tank, there will be some there will be a series of tubes, narrow tubes. Okay, pins will be attached over those tubes, and air will be blown over it. Okay, and there will be a lower tank. From this lower tank, water will be flow to the again to the engine. Okay, so this is what the working of a force circulation system is carried out. Now how this thermostat works? Okay, so this is very much important, because in order to maintain the temperature of engine, we need to properly work the thermostat. Okay, so how thermostat works, we'll see. So here you can see the thermostat. So in thermostat, this is the construction of a thermostat. So in thermostat, we see a bellows. Okay, this is the construction of bellows. Okay, so there is one valve. Okay, now as you all know that the hot water flows towards the thermostat. Okay, now as this hot water flows through a thermostat. Okay, now suppose hot water is at a temperature, say approximately around 140 or 150 degrees Celsius. Okay, now this water is sufficient enough. Okay, to in order to expand this bellows. Now how this bellows will expand? So in order to expand bellows, we provide a liquid which is having very low boiling point inside this bellows. Okay, like ether, then wax, acetone, or alcohol. Such type of fluids are used to keep those fluid inside the bellows. Now this bellow is continuously in contact with the flowing water, that is hot water. Okay, so if the hot water is not too hot, the water is not too hot, then the temperature of water is also very less. Okay, so if the temperature of water is very less, then what happens, this billows will contract, this billow will contract, and this wall will get closed. As this wall is get closed, so there will be no flow of the water, hot water, to the radiator upper tank. Okay, now what happens if the water is too hot? Okay, means there is a flow of water to the cooling jacket, and cooling that water carries certain heat from the engine, and that hot water is supplied to the this thermostat. Now the what happens to this thermostat, in this thermostat, the billows, okay, so in billows, as this hot water comes in contact with this, so this will increase the temperature of the whatever liquid present inside the billows, and rising its temperature, because of which it will starts to expand. As it expands, this billow is also expand, and this enables this wall to move upward. As this wall is move upward, this liquid will flow through this wall and then supply to the radiator. Okay, so this is the precaution that is taken in case whenever we use a thermostat. Okay, so basically one can say that this thermostat ensures that as water gets heated, the flow of water, hot water, will be supplied to the upper tank of a radiator. Okay, and if the water is in cooling, at a normal temperature, then there is no necessity to flow the water to the upper tank. So this increases the efficiency of a system. Okay, so have you understand up to this what is the working of principle of a forced circulation cooling system? Just raise your hand so that we can move further. Okay, this is a very much important device that is generally used in forced circulation system. MCQ may ask on the thermostat how it works. Then next type of a system, that is the fourth system, is a pressurized thermostatic regulator cooling. Okay, so pressurized system is basically used, as you all know, that as the pressure of any fluid increases. Okay, suppose as you all know that as the pressure increases, the boiling temperature of any fluid increases. Okay, suppose water will boil at 100 degrees Celsius if the pressure is 1 bar. Suppose I am increasing the pressure of a water, okay, by just sealing that particular pot or any device where the water is present from the atmosphere. This enables to rise in the pressure of a water. Okay, as we increase the pressure of water, the boiling point of water is also increases, and that on that principle, a pressurized cooling system works. Okay, so pressurized cooling system, in case of pressurized cooling system, the working is same as that of a forced circulation system, but in this case we just pressurize the liquid in order to carry the higher heat, so that the this radiator size can be reduced. Okay, means suppose for consider a case that the water is used for the cooling of this particular cylinder, okay, for an engine. Now as water cools this particular engine, suppose water flowing through an engine at a pressure of a 1 bar, so this cooling jacket at pressure of a 1 bar. Okay, so its boiling point will be 100 degrees Celsius, and suppose I'm flowing this water, okay, pressurized water through this particular cooling jacket. What happens, the heat content of a system of a fluid will start increasing. Okay, okay, so as we flow pressurized water through this cooling jacket, okay, this enables us to increase the heat transfer rate, okay, or to carry the more amount of heat with them, and this enables this decrease in size of a radiator. Okay, so basically some arrangement is provided in a radiator in order to proper working of the this particular system. Okay, so in case of a pressurized system, you generally pressurize the fluid. Okay, so in order to have a higher efficiency of a system, so that is a basic difference between the regular forced circulation system and pressurized system. Okay, now this system generally works. Okay, so here we can see as the pressurized fluid flow from the engine cooling jacket to the upper tank of a radiator. Okay, this is the pressurized fluid. Okay, so if the pressure or if the pressure inside this particular space increases, okay, so this enables this pressure will fall to open. Okay, as the pressure increases inside the upper tank of a radiator or this radiator cap, this pressure relief valve will open, and releases excess amount of steam that is present over here. Okay, that is present over here, and this enables to maintain the pressure inside the system. Now, what happens in case of a winter? In case of a winter, that is for the start at the starting of the engine, the pressure might goes below the atmospheric pressure. The pressure might goes below the atmospheric pressure. So at that time, this vacuum all comes into the picture. As there is will be a atmospheric pressure from the surrounding that is continually act over this. So in order to prevent the damage to the radiator, a vacuum hall will come into the picture in case of a winter when the pressure falls below the atmospheric pressure. Okay, so in order to maintain the pressure inside this radiator cap or a upper tank of a radiator, we also provide a vacuum wall in order to prevent the damage to the radiator. Okay, so in case of winter, we need to carry out this precaution in case of a winter. Okay, so this is the working of a pressurized system. Okay, so basically pressurized system what does it just simplifies that or it just provides us the low size of a radiator for same capacity of heat transfer. Okay, so this is all about pressurized system. I understand up to this. Just raise your hand. Pressurized system. You understand up to this? Pressurized system. We just pressurize the water. Okay, so water is pressurized by just sealing this particular system from the atmosphere. Okay, this is simply like a boiler. Whenever we heat a water in order to produce a steam in a boiler, we just what we do, we just seal the boundaries of the boiler from the surroundings so that the pressure inside can increases. Okay, so this is how we can increase the pressure. Okay, so on that principle, this particular system is works. Okay, so next type of a system, that is evaporative cooling system. So this in this particular system, as you all know that evaporation is one type of process where liquids gets converted into a vapor. Okay, so this type of a system is generally used for a stationary engines, like engines that are used for the purpose of diesel gensets. Okay, so in this particular case, what happens? Water will be supplied to the engine block, engine cylinder block, where it will cool the engine. Okay, and once it starts the cooling of the engine, okay, so some of the water it starts evaporate. Okay, means it will be converted into a steam. Okay, once it gets converted into a steam, then it is passed through to the radiator. Okay, now as you all know that the function of radiator is to cool the any hot fluid. Okay, now has this steam. Okay, there is not 100% steam, it may be in a wet condition. Okay, so it may be a mixture of liquid plus a water vapor. Okay, so in order to cool this steam or a liquid plus water vapor, we pass this steam over the radiator tubes. Okay, as it will flow over the radiator tubes, as there will be arrangement to flow air over this radiator tubes, cooling will take place. As the cooling takes place, or as it transfer the heat into the air, steam starts converted into water, and this water is again recirculated to the engine block. So this is how evaporative cooling system is used, and this type of cooling system is generally used in case of stationary engines. Okay, like diesel engines. Okay, have you understand up to this? Just raise your hand. You understand up to this? Okay, so basically 5 types of a systems we have studied. That is direct or non-return type system. Okay, why it is called as a direct system? Because water is not to be circulated again and again. Okay, so water is used to cool the engine cylinder. Then thermosyphon system, based on the density difference it works. For circulation systems, where we use fan. Pressurized systems, where we generally seal the system from the surrounding in order to pressurize the fluid. Now next is the evaporative cooling system. So in this system, we generally produce a steam, and the steam is allowed to pass through radiator, and then it is supplied back to the engine by cooling first in the radiator. Okay, so water will be supplied again back to the engine cooling that. Okay, so this is how system works. Okay, so from this one can understand that in case of a water cooling system, water is used to cool the engine cylinder. Water is used to cool the engine cylinder, but this water is, once this hot water is passed to the radiator, so radiator is a device is used to cool the water. Means here the direct this water will not directly, this water will cool the engine cylinder, but in this another medium is needed, that is air, in order to cool the water also. Okay, so basically in radiator what happens, with the help of the flowing air we cool the water or hot water, and we decrease the temperature of water, and that water again circulated back to the engine cylinder, okay, or engine jacket. So this is a basically working principle of the in case of a liquid cooling system. So in liquid cooling systems, we need to have two mediums, that is water as well as air. Okay, except direct or non-return type of a system. Okay, where the ample amount of water is available. But out of the remaining all the systems, we need to have a radiator. Along with that radiator, we need to have another fluid, which is air, in order to cool the liquid. Okay, so this is how liquid cooling system works. So I will understand up to this, so that we can move further. Have understand up to this? Just raise your hand. Okay, so these are the system, liquid systems that is used. Now, we'll see this working of a radiator. Okay, so basically, radiator is used to cool the hot water and decrease its temperature by passing a surrounding air with the help of a fan. Okay, so basically, it rejects the coolant heat to the surrounding air. Coolant is nothing but basically a water. Okay, with the help of a surrounding air, we cool the water or a coolant, and then this coolant is again passed to the engine. Screen visible like a okay. So basically, radiator is used to reject the heat from the coolant to the surrounding air. Okay. Now what happens in radiators? It disperses the heated coolant, that is water, into fine streams, so that is it is passing the water into fine tubes. Okay, that is in fine streams, so that the small quantities of water of the coolant are brought in contact with the large metal surface areas. Okay, as we all know that as the surface area increases, the heat transfer rate also increases, which in turn are cooled by a air stream. So air is used to cool the hot water and bring to the required temperature. Now radiators are of two types, that is downflow radiator and cross flow radiator. Okay. And then next, the availability of a space indicates the choice of radiator. So which kind of a radiator which you have to choose is depend upon the availability of the space. Then various design of radiator cores are used for the cooling of the water. Okay, so various type of radiator cores are generally used for the cooling of water. We will see one by one. Okay, so here are the different types of cores that are used basically in order to cool the coolant with the help of a radiator or a air stream. Okay, so first type of a radiator core is the honeycomb black block type of a core. So in case of a honeycomb block type of a core, there are some hexagonal shape. Okay, here you can see core, hexagonal shapes of a core. Okay, so you can see the series of hexagonal shapes of a cores. Okay, that are generally braced together. Okay, that are generally braced together, and coolant is generally allowed to flow over this brace hexagonal cores, and the air is flow through these holes. Here we can see the hole. Okay, so air will flow these holes, and over those coolant will be flow. Okay, and heat transfer will be takes place across the surface of the this core. Okay, so this is the basic arrangement in case of a honeycomb block type of a core. The second type of a core is the film type of a radiator core. Okay, so here we can see the in tubes. Okay, number here we can see this number of tubes. Okay, through which the water will flow. Okay, and in this case, a ribbon type of a tubes or a ribbons generally of a very small diameter. It generally which is acted like a pins. Okay, that is attached or fitted to the this flowing tubes. Okay, means through these tubes water will be flowed, and over the this tubes, air will be blown. Okay, so in order to increase the heat transfer rate, we provide generally this ribbon types of pins in this manner. Okay, or in this shape, so that the surface area will increases and heat transfer will be take place. Okay, so this is the happens in case of a film type of a radiator core. The next type of a radiator core is a tube and pin type of a core. This type of a core we use in many of the applications. Okay, so in this we can see a circular or a elliptical shape tubes are generally used in this case. Okay, through this water will or coolant will flow. So hot water will coolant from the top will flow through this. Okay, and a series of tubes or pins are provided on the surface of this tubes so that the heat transfer rate can be increases. Okay, so this will be act as a pins. This tubes will be or this wire type of tubes will be act like a pins so that the heat transfer rate can be increases. Okay, so air will be blown over this and cooling will take place, and then this cool water will be supplied again back to the engine cylinder block. Okay, and last type of that is core that is used in case of a radiator is that is tube and corrugated type. Okay, so here will be the tubes of same shape. Okay, that is circular or elliptical, but the shape of a or arrangement for the pins is somewhat different. That is in this zigzag manner, pins are provided on the surface so that the turbulence will occur as the air will flow over the tubes. Okay, and cooling will increases. Okay, so this is how a cooling of a hot coolant is takes place in case of a radiator. Okay, basically pins plays an important role in case of a heat transfer. How we generally provide arrangement of pins. Okay, how it will affect the heat transfer from water to the air. Okay, so as in this case, water will be at a higher temperature and air will be at a lower temperature. So heat transfer takes place from water to the air. So how we provide the arrangement of a piece that is fitted with the tubes that enables the heat transfer from the water to the air. Okay, so this is how a radiator works, or a radiator core play an important role in heat transfer from the cooling coolant to the surrounding air. So have you understand up to this? Just raise your hand so that we can move further. Now the materials for the radiator. Okay, so some of the properties of the materials of the radiator are it should have good corrosion resistance. Okay, so there must be some alloying elements that need to be added along with the metal so that the corrosion resistance may increases. It should have good thermal conductivity. As earlier we already told that the good thermal conductivity is nothing but the ability to conduct the heat. They must possess a required strength. So it should be have enough strength. Okay, must be easily formable. Okay, should be easily formable. Then there are some of the materials that is used for the purpose of cooling. That is yellow brass, copper are used. Okay, yellow brass as well as copper brass is also used for the purpose of to manufacture the radiator. Okay, so brass, as we all know, the brass is the nothing but the alloy of a copper and a zinc. Then aluminum is also used. As you all know, the aluminum is in case of a weight, we can use aluminum. Also, its alloy can be used. Okay, because aluminum is also having good thermal conductivity. Okay, so in case of a weight constraint, we can use aluminum. Okay, as copper is having better thermal conductivity compared to the allium. Okay, so whenever we have to consider whenever we need to provide a radiator for a higher capacity engine, we can use copper, as the copper is having a higher thermal conductivity. Okay, so next thing is the that is antifreezes. Okay, so basically whenever you use water as a coolant in a liquid cooling system, what happens in winter, water may freeze. Okay, so in order to this will not happen in areas like Maharashtra or something elsewhere, where it will happen in areas like where the temperature is much more below than the 10 degrees Celsius, or we can say 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, areas like Jammu Kashmir, where in winter the temperature might go below the 0 degree Celsius temperature. So in that case, what happens? The water may freeze, that is which is used for the cooling of the engine. So in order to avoid this, some of the antifreezers are generally added. Okay, so some of those are ethylene glycol. Okay, so ethylene glycol is one of the best, which generally decreases the freezing temperature of the water. Okay, as you all know, the normally water will freeze at the 0 degree Celsius. As we add a ethylene glycol to the water, this enables or this decreases the freezing temperature of water. So in areas where the temperature is much more lesser, in those areas we can use along with the cooling water, we can use some of anti-freezers also. So apart from this, we can use methanol also, ethanol, isopropylene alcohol, and propylene glycol. So these are some of the anti-freezers we generally use in order to decrease the freezing temperature of a water. Now, so what are the certain requirements of anti-freezers? Okay, so this should be mixed with the water. Okay, so there will be homogeneous mixture to be taken place. It should not corrode the surface of water. So corrosion, it should not have a property to corrode the surface of a tubes of a radiator. Okay. So their boiling point should be high. Means its freezing point should be low, but its boiling point should be high. Okay, so that can carry the heat. Okay, so there should not deposit any foreign matter in jacket, hose pipes, and radiator. Okay, so these are the things that we need to. And it should also be chemically stable. This chemically stable means it should not react with some during the transfer. It should not react with the another molecules. Okay, and it should also be conductor of it. That is the basic need. It should have a good thermal conductivity. Okay, so we'll see some of the properties of some of the antifreeze solutions. Okay, so here we can see some of the antifreeze solution, that is ethylene glycol by volume. Okay, specific gravity freezing point. Okay, so this is important for the important. As here we can see the as we increase by volume, we increase the ethylene glycol, the freezing temperature goes on decreases. Okay, here you can see the freezing temperature by 40% volume. Okay, this is there will be 60% water and 40% volume. The freezing temperature might decrease up to -25 degree Celsius, and in degree current -14. Okay, and by boiling point is around 111. Okay, so these are the things that we should know. Then okay, so some of the things are that is enthalpy of evaporation. So this is related to latent heat. Okay, so this is related to the latent heat. Then specific heat. Okay, so for any fluid, the specific heat must be highest possible in order to carry more amount heat with them. Okay, okay, that is in single cycle. In order to carry more amount of heat for any specific system, it should have high specific heat. So these are the basic needs. Okay, here we can see the specific heat as well as thermal conductivity of different types of antifreezes that are used for the purpose of cooling of internal combustion engine. Okay, so this is all about liquid cooling system. So have you understand up to this? Just raise your hand so that you can move further. Have you understand up to this? So these are the things that are important from subject point of view. Okay.